In the following video, we're going to focus on the product rule and the quotient rule of the properties of exponents. Now remember, when you are multiplying like bases, that would be the product rule, and you would add your exponents. And when you are dividing like bases, you subtract the exponents. So if we have the following examples, we're going to go through and apply either one of these properties to determine what the simplified version of the expression would be. So if I have 2x squared y cubed times negative 5x to the fourth y squared, what I'm going to do is be careful with the exponents. I'm going to perform the operation with the exponents, which is multiplication. So I'm going to do 2 times negative 5. I'm then going to match up my x's. I have x squared times x to the fourth, and you have y cubed times y squared. And you can simplify this. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. When you're multiplying like bases, you add the exponents. So 2 plus 4 is 6. Multiplying like bases for the y, so add the exponents, and 3 plus 2 is 5. So my final simplified version by applying the product rule is negative 10 x to the 6th, y to the 5th. And now I have my p to the 5th over p to the 9th. We are subtracting the exponents here because we are dividing like bases. So what you would have, you have p to the 5 minus 9 power, which is p to the negative 4th. Now this is your quotient rule. What you're going to learn is you cannot have a negative exponent in your final simplified answer. So we have to figure out, what does this negative exponent mean? P to the 5th means you have 5 p's in the top of the fraction. P to the 9th means you have 9 p's in the bottom of the fraction. And so remember, if you have anything in common on the top and the bottom, you can cross it out. So I cross out a total of 5 p's in the top and my 5 p's in the bottom. And that leaves me with 4 p's in the bottom and a 1 in the top. So p to the negative 4th really means 1 over p to the positive 4th. And we're going to examine this negative exponent rule in a future video. So again, we can see we have another product rule and another quotient rule. So we've seen one example of each, so let's try these. Now I'm just going to, instead of breaking it apart by putting my coefficients together, my like bases together, I'm just going to go straight ahead and show how to get the answer quickly. So you would follow the operation with your coefficients. So 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. And then you add the exponents for your like bases. And so my exponents for A are 3 and negative 1. Add those and I get 2. My exponents for B are going to be negative 2 and 5. And so I add those exponents, and negative 2 plus 5 is 3. So my final answer is negative 21 a squared b cubed. So even though you have negative exponents here, you still follow the same idea of when you multiply like bases, you add them. Now here's the other one. Again, you have to be careful with the coefficients. The coefficients are just like in this example, it's a fraction. You do the operation with it. Now for some people, just because you have all these variables and numbers next to each other, for some people, it just helps to visually separate your like terms. And so I'm just going to visually imagine them breaking apart. And then I'm going to work with each one separately. This is a fraction. It is 3/6. So when I simplify this, it's 3/6. You get 1/2. Now I'm going to work with a to the 4th over a squared. You are dividing like bases, so you subtract your exponents. So you're going to have a to the fourth, minus 2, and that gives me a squared. Now again, we see we have another negative exponent. And remember in the previous example here, we saw negative exponent means it's on the opposite side with a positive. So really what this means is that my b to the negative second is really on the bottom with a positive exponent. And so I move this down to the bottom and make it positive. And so now I'm multiplying like bases. And so I add the exponents. 4 plus 2 is 6. So the b to the 6 will be on the bottom. So our answer is 1a squared over 2b to the 6. And again, in your final answer, remember we never show a coefficient of 1. So our actual final answer is a squared over 2b to the 6. So these are examples of the product rule and quotient rule. And we also saw a couple of examples dealing with negative exponents, which we will examine further in a future video. The bottom line is that when you are multiplying like bases, you add the exponents. And when you are dividing like bases, you subtract the exponents. And the key is you perform whatever the operation is in the problem with the coefficients.